Welcome back. In this video, we're going to go through PSLE 2021 Mathematics Paper 2. Now, this is part 2 of this video, and in this video, we will go through questions 9 to question 17. If you wish to see the solutions for question 1 to 8, please refer to part 1 of the video. Let's get started. Now, when I go through these questions, I would have assumed that you have read through the questions on your own and you have attempted it. If you have not, do take the time to pause the video to try it or get the PSLE booklet to do so, as I will not be reading out the questions. Now, in this question, we were told that some files sold from January to March. So, you'll notice that the individual gaps, the value of each gap is not given. And therefore, you must always find out the value of each gap or each unit. And if you can find out, but the total is not given, right? If it's not given, we assign each gap a value. So this 5 does not mean 5 files sold. It just means 5 units. Now, why do I need to do this? So that I have some numbers to work with. Now, these 5 units can represent 10 or 20 or whatever. It doesn't matter because I'm just looking for percentage for question A. Question A asks, what was the percentage decrease in the number of files sold from January to February? So if I look at this, in January, I have 12 parts of files sold. In February, 9 parts of files were sold. So the difference in the files sold from January to February is 3, 12 minus 9. And percentage decrease is found by using the amount decreased over the original number, and decreased by 3. Originally there were 12 in January, and you get 1/4, which is actually 25%, and that's the solution to question 1a, this part. Let's look at B. So there were 144 more files sold in March than in January. So what does it mean? So in March, 16 units of files were sold. In January, 12 units of files were sold. The difference will be 4 units of files were sold. And now we know this more than is actually equivalent to 144. So having said that, now we can find out that actually 4 units is 144. 1 unit we divide by 4 is 36. Therefore, how many files were sold in March? 16 units of files were sold in March. So 16 times 36, and you get 576 files were sold in March. That's the answer for B part 1. B part 2, the average number of files sold from January to May was 435. So this is 5 months, January to May. But we only have 3 months here, January to March. So what's the average number of files sold from in April and May? So what do? First, find the total number of files sold from January to May. The average number is 435. There are 5 months here. I multiply by 5, so 2,175 files were sold from January to May. Now, how about the total number of files sold from January to March? That will be 37 times 36. Where did I get 37 from? Here. Right, 12 units of files sold in January, 9 units sold in February, 16 sold in March, total 37 units of files sold from January to March. And I have this number. So the difference between these two numbers would mean the files sold in April and May. So 843 files were sold in April and May together. So what's the average number of files sold in April and May? To find average, I use a total divided by 2 because there are 2 months, April and May. I have 421.5 files sold between in January and May. Question 10. Now, this is a bit tricky, so do pay a bit more attention. So 3 persons shared the cost of a gift, and we were told in the first sentence that Alan's share to the total share of Ben and Chandra was 1:3. So I have this part here. So Alan's share to total of Ben plus Chandra is 3. So total of these 3 boys' share is 4 parts. We were also told that now they give us a different ratio. The ratio of the Ben's share to Alan plus Chandra. Ben's share to Alan plus Chandra is 1:5. 1:5, total is 6. Now, these are the same 3 boys. So the total actually is the same. But currently the numbers don't look the same, right? So we need to make these 2 numbers the same. What is the smallest common multiple between these 2? That will be 12. Alright, so I will change this to 12. So 6 times 2, 12. 5 times 2, 10. 1 times 2, 2. 4 times 3, 12. 3 times 3, 9. 1 times 3, 3. So this is how we get to this new ratio, which is more useful now. Why is this useful? Because now we can use this information. Chandra's share is $80 more than Ben's share. Chandra and Ben, let's compare. So if Ben part is 2, I substitute in here, I'll know Chandra's share is actually 7, right? B plus C is 9. Since B is 2, I substitute B here. So Chandra's share is actually 7. And Chandra's share is $80 more than Ben. More than Ben part is 2. Chandra is 7. So more than is 5 units more than. So therefore 5 units is equivalent to $80. 1 unit is 80 divided by 5 is $16. We're supposed to find out how much the gift costs. So total number of units is 12. So 12 times 16 will be $192, and that's the answer. That's the cost of the gift. Now this is another tricky question, so let's understand this. Now we have done this before in one of the other papers, so in this year's PSLE booklet as well, it appears. The number of boys and girls taking part in the quiz are in the ratio 7:4. It's boys, it's to girls. The students are put into 2 groups. 30% of the boys and 60% of the girls are in group P. The rest are in group Q. So let's put all this in the ratio. So boys and girls is 7:4. The boys are divided into 2 groups. 30% of them went to P. So that means 70% must go to Q. 60% of the girls went to P. So the remaining 40% must have gone to Q. So this is a new ratio I got from this. But this is not yet, because 30% is of this number. 30% of 7 is 310 times 7. 30% is actually 310. It's 300 over 100. Simplify the 310. 70% of 7 is 710 times 7. 60% of 4 is 610 times 4. 40% of 4 is 410 times 4. So my new ratio here for P is to Q for the boys, and P is to Q for girls is 2.1 to 4.9 to 2.4 to 1.6. Now, so all the boys here will be 2.1 plus 2. So all the pupils in P, right? Number of pupils in P. P is here. That will be 2.1, 2.4. 4.5 pupils are in P. And to those in Q, Q will be 4.9 and 1.6. Add these two, I have 6.5. So I have the ratio now. P is to Q is 4.5 to 6.5. But we don't leave ratio in decimals. So we go to multiply each of these by 2, and then we get 9 is to 13. That's the ratio of the pupils in P to Q. That's the answer for part A. Let's go to part B now. The number of boys in P is fewer than 70. What's the largest possible total number of students taking part in the quiz? So let's go back to the boys and girls again. We know that this is the same thing as above here. We are using the same piece of information here. 2.1 parts of the boys, 4.9 part in Q, 2.4 are those in the girls. I just bring everything down. Q is 1.6. Total, I add up these 4 decimal is 11. Now, we were told that the boys cannot be more than 870, right? So never mind, I don't like decimal for children. Very weird to have a decimal for children. It's like 1/4 of a boy. How is that possible, right? Not possible. I change all these to whole numbers by simply multiplying by 10. I'll have 21 parts of boys, 249 parts of boys in Q, 24 parts of girls in P, 16 parts of girls in Q, and 110 in total in parts. Now, we were told that the number of boys in P cannot be more than 70, fewer than 70. So what's the largest possible number that is still smaller than 70? Well, I times 3, I have 63. I cannot times 4, I'll get 84. So this is the largest possible. If I times 3 here, then my total here I also times 3. That means the total number of pupils is 330. The largest possible number of pupils taking part is 330. And that's the answer for part B. Now the figure here has 3 rectangles. Now I'll redraw this for you to see in case you cannot see the 3 rectangles. Alright, so here is like there's 1 rectangle, 2 rectangles, 3 rectangles. A straight line is drawn across, divide into 2 parts, shaded and unshaded. The perimeter of this shape is shaded part is 4 cm longer than the perimeter unshaded part. What's the length of AB? What does it mean? So if you have learned this from a teacher, you would know that, for example, when you were learning perimeter of shapes, I can push this line out here. I can push this line out here. Right? And I push this up. I push this up. If I push this over here, I'll get this line here instead. I push this here, I get this here. I move this here instead. I can move this line, shift it over here. I shift this up, move it over here. Now I have a huge rectangle instead of this strange step-like thing. I redraw it here. It looks like this now. Now, where did I get all these numbers from? 7 plus 3 is 10, 10 plus 3 is 13, 13 is here. 2 plus 8 is 10, 10 plus 4 is 14, 14 is here. Right? If this side is 13, this side is 13, this side is 14, this side is 14. And they tell us that the perimeter of the shaded part, which is actually this line plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, which is the same as this. The difference between this line and this, okay, is actually 4. Now, for those who are very alert, you notice, that is not the perimeter. You're right. The perimeter of this part is actually including this line. The perimeter for the triangle actually includes this line. What do I mean? The perimeter of this triangle includes this line. The perimeter of this shaded part includes this line. And since this line is common between the two, when I subtract the difference, this line will be cancelled away. It's the same line, right? Similarly, when I subtract the red line and the blue line here, these two will be cancelled away because it's the same number. So what is now the difference? Is this part, this red line here, and this red line here is more than this part. And that is 4. So I use this part minus, so if I subtract, right, look at this part. This part here, is it the same as this part here? It is, right? So when I subtract these two lines, this part will be gone as well. So I'm left with just this. And that is equals to 4. Because that's the difference, is 4. So to find out what is one of this shorter length, that will be 4 divided by 2, that is 2. Now we're supposed to find the length AB. Since this whole length is 13, and we found out this shorter part is 2, so 13 minus 2 will be 11. So AB is 11 cm. And that is how you do part A. Next one. What is the area of the shaded part? So the shaded part, I can do it in this way. I redraw this shape below like this. So this is that shape. I want to find the shaded part. How do I find it? I use this whole big area, which is 13 times 4. Subtract away the area of this triangle, which is half times 14 times 11. I put a tick to check I've gone through this. I subtract away the area of this rectangle, which is 2 times 10. That's 20. I subtract away the area of this rectangle here, which is 4 times 7, which is 28. And I get the answer, and that will be the remaining part, the shaded part, 57 square centimeter. Let's go to question 13. Now ABCD is a trapezium, right? So the trapezium is this part here. Now they told us some are straight lines, some are equal lines. Equal lines is important because this tells you where are the isosceles triangle. So I mark it here. So this tells me this is an isosceles triangle. To find BCE, very simple, they give you 3 marks for part A. BCE. Since you know that this is a triangle, I just want to cover this part. You can see this is a triangle. This big angle here is 94. This small angle here is 28. So 180 degrees minus these two angles will give you this angle, which is what I want for part A. And that's how you get 58 degrees for part A. Now for part B, find angle AEC is this one. To find angle AEC, this angle, I was thinking, if only I have this angle, number 1 here, because then this is an isosceles triangle. If I know what is this angle, I'll know what is this angle. 180 degrees minus this 2 minus this, 28, I'll get this answer. But I don't have this. How do I get this? I'm looking at, I know this whole angle is 94. If only I know what is this smaller angle, number 2. If I know what is this number 2 angle, I can find what is number 1 easily. So how do I find it? So I look at this part here. This is a pair of parallel lines because this is a trapezium. So I redraw this part here for you to see. If this part is 53, this part is 58, and this part simply 180 minus these two angles, and I'll have 69. So I know number 2 is 69 degrees. If number 2 is 69 degrees, then what's number 1? 94 minus 69, I have 25 degrees. So this part is 25 degrees. If this is 25, this will be 25. Isosceles triangle, right? 180 degrees minus 25, minus 25, minus 28. Right, 180 degrees minus 25, 25 minus 28, I'll have 102 degrees. And that's answer for B. Now don't forget part C. This is a popular one these recent years. This thing keep coming up. Circle the words that describe AFCD. So AFCD looks like a parallelogram. But as you know, a parallelogram has opposite angles being the same. And if there's a if these two lines are parallel, if they are parallel, they look like parallel. If they are parallel, these two angles will add up to give us 180. But the thing is 125 plus 53 is 178. Very close to 180, but it's not 180. Therefore, I know that these two lines, DC and AD, they are not parallel. AD is not parallel to FC. AD is not parallel to FC. It's not. Therefore, AFCD is not a parallelogram. It's a trapezium. I also know that AF is parallel to DC. Is. So all these things must be circled to get your marks. Now in this question, alright, another ratio question that's kind of confusing. So let's write down whatever we know first. The ratio of the adults to the child is 5:1. 5 times of this, 5 times of this means 5:1. Total is 6. Now the adults are split into two kinds of adults. Adults who are slightly younger, under 60 years old, or adults who are 60 and above, the older ones. See, good to be old, you pay less. Younger people, adults pay more. So now my adults are in two. Okay, now I also want to change to something else. I change to 40 and 8. I times 8 times 8 times 8. Why? Because I see a fraction here, very irritating. 5/8. 8 parts. My 5 cannot divide into 8 parts easily. I don't like a fraction. So, but if I have 40, I can divide to 8 parts easily. Because 40 is divisible by 8, I get 5 for each part, right? 40 divided by 8 is 5. That's why I change it to 40 is to 8 is, and total is 48. If there are 40 parts of adults and 8 parts of children, and we know that the adults, there are two groups. There are those that are younger ones under 60, those who are 60 or older. And we know that 5/8 of the adult tickets were sold to adults who are below 60. So this is 5/8 of 40. So there are 25 adults that are below 60 years old. If 5/8 is here, 1 whole minus 5/8 is 3/8. 3/8 times 40, I'll have 15. 15. I double check 25 plus 15, I get 40. Yeah, that's correct. So adults under 60, 25. Adults 60 or older, 15. Child is 8. Total is still 48. No change, still 48. Now, next, I want to use this information. A total of this amount of tickets were collected. It must be collected from people who are under 60, over 60, and children. So those who are under 60, they only pay $16 per person. So they pay $400 in total. Those who are 60 or older pay $11, so $165. The 8 parts of children will pay $7 each. $7 for children, 56. So $621 is paid by one group of 25 adults under 60, 15 adults 60 or above, 8 children. Alright, this one group of 48 people will pay this amount. So how many groups of this? Well, this is the total amount paid, right? So 5589 divided by 621, I have 9 groups of these adults. Okay, let's go to part A. A says, what fraction of the tickets were sold for adults age 60 and above? Very simple. Adult 60 and above is 15. Total is 48. So 15 divided by 48, simplify to 5 to 16. This is the answer for part A. Then part B, right? What was the total number of tickets sold? I must know how many people are there. There are 9 groups of people. In each group, there are 48 people. So 48 times 9, I have 432 people. So 432 people need 432 tickets. And that's the answer for part B. Next, we go to Helen and Ivan question. Another interesting one. Alright, now children, very important here. Sometimes some of you, by the time you reach this part, you'll be very tired and you could be at the verge of giving up. Don't. Because the later question may be actually easier. So don't just stop doing. Always persevere. So we know that Helen has some coins. Ivan has some coins. Helen has, I don't know how many 50-cent coin, but 64 20-cent coin. Ivan has, don't know how many 50-cent coin, they didn't tell us. But I know Ivan has 104 20-cent coin. I split 104 into 64 and 40. Because 104 minus 64 is 40. Why do I do it? So I can draw the model like this. I can see this part is actually equal to this part. So this together is 104 20-cent coin that belongs to Ivan. And the total number of coins are the same. They're the same number of total coins. So I drew all the way to this part, same. So the excess part here must be the don't know how many 50-cent coins. Okay, so you see Helen has 40 50-cent coins. Ivan has 40 20-cent coins here. So how much is this amount? Well, that is 40 50-cent coins. That will be 2,000 cents or $20. How much is this amount? That will be 40 times 20, 800 cents or $8. So ask us who has more coins. Of course, well, we can find out who has more money in coins. Very simply, Helen is the richer person. She has $20 minus 8, which is $12 more. So answer for the first part is Helen with $12 more. Second part, each 50-cent coin is 2.7 grams heavier than each 20-cent coin. So if one 50-cent coin weighs 2.7 grams more than one 20-cent coin, and there are 40 coins here, right? The difference here will be 2.7 times 40 coins is 108 grams. 2.7 grams and 40 coins, it will be 108 grams. So the total mass of the coins, Helen coin, is 1.134 kilogram. Subtract away this difference, we have the amount that Ivan has. This is the amount that Ivan has in terms of mass. And they told us to express the answer in kilograms, so I change to kilogram by dividing by 1000. 1, 2, 3, decimal is here. This answer for part B. Next one, a small circle here is cut from this. So how to do this? You notice I cut off this part. This part is actually flipped over to the other side. So what happens is that I cut this portion and then it flip over to this way. Alright. So find the area of the new shape. Actually the area is the same as the old area, right? It's just big circle minus small circle. The only problem with this is I do not know what is the radius. So I find out what's the radius of the big circle. The radius of the small circle I know is 8 cm. I need to find out what is this in order to know what's the radius of the big circle. So this is what I do here. If I split down the middle, this part is 8 cm, 8 cm. So the diameter here is 16. I know this edge to each edge is 42. I need to subtract away enough things to get these two values. So this is 16. I know this part is 8. How do I know this part is 8? Remember, this part here, this part is this. Right? This is 8 cm. And this part is 8 cm. See? This is 8 cm. 8 cm. So this part is 8. This part is 8. This part is 16. So 42 minus 8, 8, 16. I get 10. 10 is divided by 2. Each part here is 5. That's why this part is 5. If this part is 5, alright, that tells me this thickness is 5. If this thickness is 5, then therefore the radius of the big circle is 13. This is the radius of the big circle. So pi times r of the big circle minus pi times r of the small circle. I work this out, I get the answer. Area of the shaded part is 329.7 square centimeter. Next one. Circumference. Find the parameter of new shape. This new shape basically parameter, right? Now I must look at this. This part here, and these two lines. So this part inside is basically the circumference of the small circle. This part outside is basically the circumference of, this part here, this, and this is actually the circumference of the small circle. See, these two. Whereas the big one outside is the circumference of the bigger circle. So I add these two circumferences, big circle, pi times diameter. If radius is 13, diameter is times 2. Pi times diameter, if radius is 8, diameter is times 2. Then this will be the circumference of a large and smaller circle. I must not forget to plus the 5 cm and the 5 cm here as well. And that's how I get the perimeter of this part. Now, last question. This one is quite tricky. Okay, but if you do your working, you definitely can get some marks. So here you have tap. Okay, now when the tap is on at 2 p.m., what does it mean? Well, first thing I will work out simply given the numbers. I find the volume of the tank first. Volume of the tank, I use length times breadth times height, right? So length is 55, breadth is 30, height is 20. I get 33,000 square centimeter, cubic centimeter. I change to liters, and it's 33 liters. I like to work with smaller numbers. 33 liters is the volume of the tank. Next, after the first 5 minutes, because they said that from 2 p.m. tap A was on, but B wasn't on, wasn't turned on. It flowed until 5 minutes later. So water was filling up inside without leaking out in the first 5 minutes. So the first 5 minutes, 4.2 liters of water went in per minute times 5. I'll have 21 liters of water went in the first 5 minutes until 2:05. And then after 5 minutes, tap B wasn't on, start to leak water. Okay. At 2:15, the tank was half filled with water. So what the half filled means? Half filled means 33 liter, which is the volume of the whole tank, divided by 2 is 16.5. That means at 215, the amount of water inside is this, 16.5 liters. So it must mean that from 210 to 215, the tank lost some water. It lost 21, this was the amount of water it had at 205. And then by the time it reaches here, right, this is the half, it lost this amount of water from 210 to 215. Now, next. So during that 10 minutes, that space of 10 minutes from 210 to not 210, my mistake here is 205. From 205 to 215, that's the 10 minutes. From 205 to 215, during the 10 minutes, more water entered the tank. How much water entered the tank? 4.2 liters per minute times 10 minutes is 42 liters of water entered the tank. But water was also lost during the tank in that 10 minutes because water was coming out from tap B. So how much water was lost in the tank? Overall of 4.5 liters. So total amount of water lost during that 10 minutes was 46.5 liters. Okay, total amount of water loss was 46.5 liters. So what's the rate of water loss in 10 minutes? 46.5 liters was lost in 10 minutes, so 4.65 liters was lost in 1 minute. So that is how many liters of water flow out in tap B in 1 minute? That is 4.65 liters in 1 minute. Answer is 4.65 liters. Next one, at 2:30, what fraction of the tank was filled with water? So remember at 2:15, it only was half filled at 16.5 liters. So water went in for the next 15 minutes. Right, 2:15 to 2:30, 15 minutes. Times 4.2 liters per minute. That was what we were told from tap A. This amount of water will come out every minute. So this amount of water went into the tank, 63 liters. The problem is the tap B is open, so it's still leaking. So water was leaking out at 4.65 liters for 15 minutes. That was the amount of water leaking out. So this amount of water was, more water was leaking out than water was going in. So overall, the water level was decreasing because more water was being lost. So overall amount of water lost from 2:15 to 2:30 is 6.97 minus this is 6.75 liters. Now, so what's the water left? Remember, at 2:15, it was half filled at 16.5. Then, for the next 15 minutes, it lost some more, 6.75. So you have 9.75 liters left at 2:30. We're asked to find out what fraction of the tank was filled with water. Fraction means I divide this by the original, which is 33 liters, and I get 13/44. And that's the fraction of water left. And that concludes this paper 2. All the best to all the pupils taking PSLE 2021 or 2022, and all the best to pupils who are using this video to revise. Okay? Take care, all the best.